Good morning, third graders. Welcome to Read Aloud. When we began our Read Aloud on Monday, we met a couple of characters. We met Ivan the gorilla, who is our main character of this story, the one and only Ivan. And we already started to love Ivan. He is quite an interesting gorilla, not what many people think of when they think of gorillas. He's filled with thoughts and feelings and emotions and ideas, and he is explaining to us what it's like to live where he lives. And he lives at the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, home of the one and only Ivan. And he was talking to us about his home that he doesn't call a home, he calls a domain. And he said he has a friend named Stella, who is an elephant, a friend named Bob, who is a dog. But he said, at present, I do not have many gorilla friends. And that's kind of where we left off. And so today, we're going to learn a little bit more about Ivan's neighbors and who lives with him at the Big Top Mall. Okay. If you're following along, there are no chapter numbers in this book because the chapters are so small and poetic. They're almost written more like poems than they are chapters. But we are on page 11, the littlest big top on earth. My neighbors here at the Big Top Mall know many tricks. They are an educated lot, more accomplished than I am. One of my neighbors plays baseball, although she is a chicken. Another drives a fire truck, although he is a rabbit. I used to have a neighbor, a sleek and thoughtful seal, who could balance a ball on her nose from dawn till dusk. Her voice was like the throaty bark of a dog, chained outside on a cold night. Children wished on pennies and tossed them into her plastic pool. They glowed on the bottom like flat copper stones. The seal was hungry one day, or bored perhaps, so she ate 100 of those pennies. Mac said she'd be fine. He was mistaken. And then it goes on to the next paragraph, but I want to point something out to you, careful readers. Do you see how that sentence is all by itself? You know, when authors do that, when they make decisions like that, they always make those decisions on purpose. And to me, when Catherine Applegate, the author, puts that the way she typed that out, wrote that out, I always believe in my heart it's because we're supposed to do some thinking in the white space. That's what I call it, doing thinking in the white space. Have I ever shared that with you before? It's one of I think because I tend to think of it most when I read this book. So I'm going to read that part again, and I want you to do some thinking in the white space. What are we supposed to be thinking? Boy, and I do love seals. They are my second favorite animal. I used to have a neighbor, a sleek and thoughtful seal, who could balance a ball on her nose from dawn till dusk. Her voice was like a throaty bark of a dog chained outside on a cold winter's night. Children wished on pennies and tossed them into her plastic pool. They glowed on the bottom like flat copper stones. The seal was hungry one day, or bored perhaps, so she ate 100 pennies. Mac said she'd be fine. He was mistaken. Yeah, I think we're supposed to be thinking that her eating those pennies is not good for her, and she wasn't fine. She probably died. Also, because Ivan said, I used to have a friend, right? Matt calls our show the littlest big top on earth. Every day at 2, 4, and 7, humans fan themselves, drink sodas, applaud, babies wail. Mac, dressed like a clown, pedals a tiny bike. A dog named Snickers rides on Stella's back, and Stella sits on a stool. It is a very sturdy stool. Look, the author does it again. It is a very sturdy stool. I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, because Stella's an elephant. Doesn't seem right. The elephants are standing on stools. They're not very sturdy, but this one would have to be sturdy. I don't do any tricks. Max says it's enough for me to be me. Stella told me that some circuses move from town to town. They have humans who dangle on ropes, twining from the tops of tents. They have grumbling lions with gleaming teeth and a snaking line of elephants, each clutching the limp tail of the one in front of her. The elephants look far off into the distance so they won't see the humans who want to see them. Our circus doesn't migrate. We sit where we are, like an old beast, too tired to push on. After our show, humans forage through the stores. A store is where humans buy things they need to survive. At the Big Top Mall, some stores sell new things like balloons and t-shirts and caps to cover the gleaming heads of humans. Some stores sell old things, things that smell dusty and damp and long forgotten. All day I watch humans scurry from one store to another. They pass their green paper, dry as old leaves and smelling of 1,000 hands, back and forth again. See, this is where I can't help myself. I have to stop here and point out this is an example of why I think this is poetry, because she doesn't explain things like most people would explain them. I think most writers would say, all day I watch humans go from store to store, but she says, I watch humans scurry. Usually we use the word scurry to describe a mouse, right? Kind of just here to there, aimlessly. They pass their green paper, dry as old leaves and smelling of 1,000 hands, back and forth again. Isn't that a beautiful way to describe people trading money? They hunt frantically, stalking, pushing, grumbling. They leave clutching bags filled with things, bright things, soft things, big things. No matter how full the bags, they always come back for more. Humans are clever indeed. They spin pink clouds you can eat. They build domains with flat waterfalls. Hold on a second, think about that. They build domains, homes, with flat waterfalls. Pools, right? Swimming pools. They are lousy hunters. Next chapter gone. Some animals live privately, unwatched, but that's not my life. My life is flashing lights, pointing fingers, and uninvited visitors. Inches away, humans flatten their little hands against the wall of the glass that separates us. The glass says, you are this, and I am that, and that is how it will always be. Humans leave their fingerprints behind, sticky with candy, slick with sweat. Each night, a weary man comes to wipe them away. Sometimes I press my nose against the glass. My nose print, like your fingerprint, is the first, the last, and the only. The man wipes the glass, and then I'm gone. Artists. Here in my domain, I do not have much to do. You can only throw so many meatballs at humans before you get bored. Now, what I love about this book that's very similar to Save Me a Seat is that, and some of you who've read this before, you're probably going wild because you remember what this means. It has a glossary at the front. Meatball, dried excrement. You see what that means? You see what that says? Thrown at observers. So he takes his old poo, makes a ball out of it like a snowball, and throws it at people. You might be thinking, well, that doesn't sound like the Ivan I know, but I'm sure he'll explain himself later. Oh, where were we? A meatball is made by rolling up dung until it's the size of a small apple and then letting it dry. I always keep a few on hand. For some reason, My visitors never seem to carry any. In my domain, I have a tire swing, a baseball, a tiny plastic pool filled with dirty water, and even an old TV. I have a stuffed gorilla, too. Julia, the daughter of the weary man who cleans the mall each night, gave it to me. The gorilla has empty eyes and floppy limbs, but I sleep with it every night. I call it not Tag. Tag was my twin sister's name. So we should stop here and think about what we've learned about Ivan's life so far. We've learned a lot about what Ivan's life is like at the Big Top Mall, or the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, home of the one and only Ivan. But we also just learned something about his life, his backstory, what his life was like before he went to the arcade. He had a sister. What does that mean? It means that he wasn't always in captivity. It means that long ago, Ivan was actually in the wild. Now, you know how sometimes people don't like to talk about things that make them sad? Well, Ivan, he doesn't really go into details right here. He's just going to go right on to the next person that hangs out around the Big Top. But don't worry, I think he's going to talk to us a little bit more about that later. But you should just know he did have a sister. He doesn't have her anymore. We don't know why. And he sleeps with a little stuffy, a gorilla stuffy, and he doesn't call her Tag. He calls her not Tag. Julia. Okay, Julia's fun, so listen up. This is another friend of Ivan's. Julia is 10 years old. She has hair like black glass and a wide half-moon smile. She and I have a lot in common. We are both great apes, and we are both artists. It was Julia who gave me my first crayon. A stubby blue one slipped through the broken spot in my glass along with a folded piece of paper. I knew what to do with it. I'd watched Julia draw. When I dragged the crayon across the paper, it left a trail in its wake, like a slithering blue snake. I love that. When I drag the crayon across the paper, it leaves. I love that. A trail in its wake, like a slithery blue snake. Julia's drawings are wild with color and movement. She draws things that aren't real. Clouds with smiles and cars that swim. Do you guys draw things that are not real? She draws until her crayons break and her paper rips. Her pictures are like pieces of a dream. I can't draw dreamy pictures. I never remember my dreams. Although I sometimes do wake up with my fists clenched and my heart hammering. What does that say about his dreams? Yeah, what do you suppose he dreams about? Think about that. What bad dreams might Ivan have? My drawings seem pale and timid next to Julia's. She draws the ideas in her head. I draw the things in my cage, simple items that fill up my days. An apple core, a banana peel, a candy wrapper. I often eat my subjects before I draw them. But even though I draw the same things over and over again, I never get bored with my art. When I'm drawing, that's all I think about. I don't think about where I am, about yesterday or tomorrow. I just move my crayons across the paper. Humans don't always seem to recognize what I've drawn. They squint, they cock their head, they murmur, I'll draw a banana, a perfectly lovely banana. And they'll say, oh, it's a yellow airplane, or it's a duck without wings. That's all right, though. I'm not drawing for them. I'm drawing for me. Mac soon realized that Mac, he's mentioned a lot, right? And remember from the beginning, Mac is the manager of the mall, of the Big Top. He's kind of like the boss. Well, Mac soon realized that people will pay for a picture made by a gorilla, even if they don't know what it is. Now I draw every day. My work sells for $20 a piece, $25 with a frame, at the gift shop near my domain. But if I get tired and I need a break, I eat my crayons. you ever, don't try that at home. If you get tired of your homework, don't try to eat your pencil. But oh, I just love Ivan. He's such a poet. And now it turns out he's also an artist. And so we learned a little bit about Julia, and you're going to see more from Julia. She is the daughter. She's not the daughter of Mac. Okay, so Mac is the manager, but remember Ivan said there's a weary man who comes to clean the windows. Do you know that word weary? It's a description. It's a descriptor. It's an adjective. Weary means tired, but we use tired to describe when we feel physically tired, like if our eyes are kind of droopy and we're yawning and we're ready for bed, we might say, I'm tired. But if you feel tired in your heart, like on the inside you feel tired of something, we will often use the word weary. And so the weary man, his daughter is Julia. So it sounds like Julia comes to work with her dad a lot. And while she's at work with her dad, she hangs out with Ivan. So fun. And I love this story. And don't worry, we have lots more to go. But we're going to pause here and we're going to read more tomorrow. All right? Thanks for tuning in.